It's a dominant, classy looking colour that stands out from the others.
Just reminds me of the sky, the sea, being outside.
This colour stands out probably because it makes me think of the real, not the depth of the sea, but midway in the sea where probably some sunlight penetrates but not too much, so you're left with this dream colour, and it just makes me think of whales, dolphins, even sharks, the sort of water they would swim through, and the colour of the whale itself. It makes me think of power, actually, not just a self-centered, calm, self-assuredness. Yeah, I think that's it really.
Stands out, bright. Obviously reminds you of sky and sea, and I hope it's the colour I think it is.
It's the colour of sky before a storm, or is the colour of deep sea, and this is a colour that you can associate to melancholy, but also to hope.
The sky, the sea, water.
Deep. Because reminds me of sadness.
Bold, like a deep ocean colour.
I like it the most because it seems richer than any of the other colours on this bit of paper. It kind of vibrates out, and it looks a bit deeper as well. Like there's, like you could dive into it somehow, I guess. And it's full, and it's not mixed. I don't particularly like colours that have been mixed with other colours to make them, because they're like the weaker link somehow. And yeah, that's it basically.
Dark, the opposites of friendly and warm, not very friendly, just doesn't appeal really.
Universal, stars, the moon at night. Right.
Dark, dreary, night, depressed, winter, what else? Darkness, sad.
Boring. It's really, really boring colour. Doesn't make me feel very much. It's not.
Cardigan, jumpers.
Well, it's just depressing, isn't it? Yeah, you wouldn't want to paint that on your walls at home. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, there's a good reason why people sometimes wear that colour. But yeah, it's just depressing.
Dull and boring and a bit sad.
Warming sort of feeling.
It's quite deep and velvety, I think. That's what I like about it.
I think it appeals to me because the colours, it's quite a cool colour, but is similar to some colours you see in nature, and I'm drawn to that. So I like the coolness and the more natural aspects of it. It is, like I say, quite a cold colour, so it's not very inviting. But in one respect it is because of the relationship to the natural world.
It reminds me of leaves, earth and grass. It kind of reminds me of the sea as well, but like a dirty sea. It's not really a warm colour. It's quite a cool colour, I think.
It seems kind of natural. Seems quite calm as well, I think.
I don't know, dirty, kind of mouldy. Yeah, a bit, looks like it would smell for some reason. Yeah, pretty much.
It has a lot of historical meaning, and so that has a long history in terms of motorsport within the UK, and I'm a big motorsport buff.
It's a fresh, wet, open kind of colour. It has a resistance like a kind of a stone wall behind it.
Bright, happy, sunny, pleasant, positive, warm, friendly.
Flat, cold, unfriendly, bleak.
Well, it's a bright colour to start with, for me. I mean, I think it symbolises sun for me, or it feels like sun. And I'm a botanist, and ragwort, for example, and dandelion. It's no, very. It's very difficult, really, to say it, but I think, yes, and sand and sky, beaches, there's definitely that in it for me. Sand dunes, I've done my research on sand dunes, but I think the plants, I think it's the flowers.
It reminds me of the colour of a car that my dad tried to make me buy, and I don't like it. Reminds me of like a sunny day, probably, and daffodils. Yeah.
Colour number 4. It's bland. It lacks depth. It's superficial, which is the same thing. What is it I don't like about it? It feels like it's trying to be jolly.
Brash and insipid. And how can you be brash and insipid at the same time? Maybe it's weak and sickly.
Sort of a neutral, sort of autumny sort of colour, not my favourite season. Sort of more sombre, I think.
I think of it as quite a brash colour.
Just nondescript, really.
To me, unfortunately, it represents a dying, not a death, but a kind of a languishing, that's very unappealing. That might not be the same as uninteresting, I admit, but I wouldn't want to associate myself with that colour. I think of the worst end of autumn rather than the exciting, colourful bit of it at the beginning.
It just looks a bit sickly and plain.
It has warmth to it, but it's just quite bland and not a colour that particularly appeals to me. It's quite static. I don't know, it just doesn't interest me in any way.
It's kind of weird way, it's a bit threatening, I don't know why, and it just, I imagine like things that don't taste very nice looking that colour.
Has a lot of historical meaning within Holland, not which I have any links to, but I know from studying history that that was the colour that was used by the partisan resistance groups to symbolise the resistance, that particular colour, and it's today used in Spiker motor cars.
Yeah, that's a weaker link thing. It's at least a mixture of two colours, if not more than that, and it doesn't have a very distinct character. It doesn't shine out. It's not very bold at all.
Just dirty and like mud, but dirty mud, like sand kind of. Yeah.